Hello students, welcome back to the biology class. So in the last class we continued the chapter 13th, that is organisms and populations, and we discussed about the various environmental factors. We learned that the directly and indirectly influencing the constituents of environment, which controls the activities of organism, which controls the life of the organism, and which controls the type of organism which come in an area, are called as the environmental factors. These factors can be directly influencing the life of organism or indirectly. You can even find that some reference books will even talk about remote type of environmental factors also. We learned in the class that the factors can be biotic or abiotic, and they are supposed to affect the life's history, behavior, physiology, growth and reproduction of the living organisms. We learned that the first abiotic factor, that means the non-living substance and condition which affect the life of the organism, is the temperature, because we all have learned in the 11th class also that the temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness, and the temperature influences the physiological functions, even the geographical distribution of organisms, because temperature governs all these things. Temperature affects the enzyme's activity, therefore it even influences the basal metabolic rate of the organism. And we learned in the last class two terms, eurythermal and stenothermal. We learned that those organisms which are able to survive in a wide range of temperature, like mammals, birds and sunflower plant, are the eurythermal type of organisms, and those which are able to live in a narrow range of temperature, like polar bear and coconut palm, are the stenothermal organisms. We learned in the last class that in the 11th also we covered this, that there are two types of animals, warm-blooded and cold-blooded. The warm-blooded are called as endothermic or homeothermic, and they are able to regulate their internal temperature despite of there is a change in the environmental temperature. Example, birds and mammals. And we also learned that there are cold-blooded animals which are also called as ectothermic or poikilothermic, and they are unable to regulate because they lack the machinery or mechanism to maintain constancy or constant internal temperature. So with the change in the ambient temperature, their body's internal temperature also changes, and most of the animals fall into this category, and nearly every plant fall into this category. We also learned that in the tropical area, megatherms, subtropical area, mesotherms, temperate area, microtherms, and histotherms, Arctic zones, these type of organisms are present. These are the temperature ranges according to that. And we also learned that effect of temperature is on the growth, metabolism, reproduction, sex ratio, distribution, coloration, behavior, size, that means the morphology of the organism. We did in the class the topic of thermoperiodicity. We learned that the change in temperature are of two types. That change can be diurnal, that means daily, and the change can be seasonal, that means it's according to the year's month or season going on. That means every day, 24 hours, the amount of temperature is there. It keeps on changing. Fluctuation in temperature is there. This temperature change is called as diurnal. And then every year you will find that there is a change in temperature with the months passing or seasons passing, and that is called as the seasonal variation in temperature. We learned that these are responsible for the various activities of the organisms. And the second important abiotic factor we learned in the last class was water. Water is the place where we all believe, according to the theory of evolution and origin of life, that life originated in water. And even today, life is only sustained because of water. And availability of water also controls the productivity, how much production or organic matter will be produced by the land plants, as well as distribution of land plants on earth is also controlled by the availability of water. And water basically comes over land in the form of precipitation, because animals or plants cannot be always just next to the water bodies. So the plants and animals which are far from the water bodies, their only source of water is the rainfall. We learned that plants can be classified as hydrophytes which are found in the very wet or completely drenched or water containing area. Those which are found in a mediocre amount of water conditions are called as mesophytes. So hygrophytes, mesophytes and xerophytes are found in the dry area. We learned that in the aquatic habitat, hydrophytes, the type of organisms which will come in the aquatic habitat depends upon the clarity of water, salt amount, that means the pH of the water, depth of the water, because we learned in the last class that the green algae is on the top, brown in the middle and red at the bottom, and even the movement of the water, that how much strong waves develop and motion of the water. Problems which develop due to the water is basically the salt content. There are some animals which are able to survive in the fresh water and cannot survive in the sea water for long, and similarly sea water animals cannot survive in the fresh water because of the osmotic problem. Now this happens because fresh water carries minimum amount of salts, that is 5 parts per thousand. Marine water carries 30 to 35 parts per thousand. And then we have the hypersaline lagoons which carry more than 100. So animals which are there in the fresh water will find problem in the marine water and vice versa. And beyond 200 meters depth in the ocean, producers are not found. And just like in the eurythermal and stenothermal, we learned in the last class euryhaline and stelohaline words. Those animals which are organisms which are able to live in a wide range of salinity, like the salmon fish, are called as euryhaline, and those which live in a narrow range of salinity, like the case of sharks, are called as the stenohaline type of organisms.